With me today is Jordan and Mandy. We're playing Lotus.
When you first have the idea, it's the greatest idea in the world.
You get halfway through and doubt
You get
yourself.
halfway, and then you get close to the end, and then you realize it's the worst idea in the world, and then you release it, and people say, "Hey, that wasn't so bad." If everybody picks something different and they all think it works, then it's probably okay.
Was in 2015, kickstarted called Collapse.
I had a coworker who was kind of a doomsday prepper. We thought for his birthday, we'll make him a deck builder that's about prepping.
Starting development on all of them at once, and then playtesting all at once, and then developing final touches all at once. I mean, they're all at totally different stages. So
Everything you see
what?
is a joke that got out of hand.
So there's the Russian version.
There's the Russian version. There's the app.
Yes.
Everybody wants the app.
Oh, I love Direwolf Digital.
Yes,
did
they're amazing.
An app for your game, and this game is beautiful, and it plays so well, and it actually taught me how to play your games better.
Yeah, it's first of all, it's gorgeous.
How do you work with a digital company? Now, granted, they've worked with Renegade before. They made Clank. They offered Clank, which was a board game to Renegade, and Scott was enamored, and it's amazing. I love that game.
Yeah.
But this is their wheelhouse.
Sure.
What was the process like of making this turn into this?
I think it starts with their incredible game designers, first of all. Like, the guys over there and gals are just great at understanding gameplay and what to put where and how games should work. So, like, you don't have to explain all that to them. They understand that and what parts need to be emphasized and what needs to be kind of like streamlined for mobile. So they came to us with a prototype that got...
They came to you first.
Well, by the time we were involved, so there's probably some negotiations on the Renegade side that we're not a part of.
Okay.
But by the time we were involved, they were looking for, here's a prototype, what would you do to make it more faithful to Lotus? And kind of, there wasn't a lot we really wanted to change, but somehow we ended up sending them 6 pages, single-spaced, of like notes. Because, like, you know, you get excited. Like, we were talking about, like, wouldn't it be cool if this was the play surface? You could put an iPad in the middle, everybody had their phones, and we could drag flowers up to the iPad. A bunch of stuff like that. Like, and then it's a lot of...
really cool idea.
It's a cool idea. Apparently it's fairly complex. It's
Sure.
never going to happen,
Yeah.
so don't get your hopes up.
Sure.
But then, like, you know, adding tips here and adding, like, the way that the AI should play to be more, like, improving the AI strategy in some areas, and like little UI things, like these little dots to track your number of actions.
And the AI is so good. I feel like I am playing another person. They make mistakes, but they're not so...
Well, depending on the power setting, yeah, they can be quite good.
It's really impressive.
We added little things like, I think we were pregnant with Maggie, or we had Maggie.
at the time of the app, I don't remember.
Anyway, Maggie is one of the like people you can play against.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, then we had her. Yeah, we
Yeah,
were telling the name.
I don't think we
before
told
she was
people the
born.
name.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the app is just like, it's so fun to play.
I love so there's a leaderboard, and you can actually
we're not on.
work
I don't
your,
think I'm
no,
on
I'm not on it anymore. I was the top of the leaderboard for a while. I felt pretty proud.
Wow, that's awesome.
But it was just a ton of fun. You know, it was really early on, so there weren't a ton of people on the app yet, and so it was me fighting against my brother, you know, and a couple of other people on the development team. So that was a lot of fun. Now that many people have downloaded it, I don't even know if I could get on that leaderboard.
No, yeah, we don't stand a chance anymore. People are way better at it than we are at this point.
I'd like to show off
Sure.
this area here.
Others?
Yeah, so let's start with the first one.
There's collapse.
So Collapse. Again, you were gonna originally make it for a friend who
Yeah.
liked to be prepared for anything.
I did all of the art direction and layout and everything, and it shows. So, you know, but we really, I mean, it's still a very fun deck builder. You have like your home card in your tableau, and then you're building out like fortifications and stuff around your home, and then you've got guns and ammo and food and all the things. Like, your score is kept in how many months you would stay alive if the world ended. And so at the end of the game, the world ends based on one of these events. and you score up who can survive the longest. Everyone still dies, but whoever lived the longest afterwards is like who wins the game. And so
It's a neat concept. And again, this is not like Lotus, this game. Gates of Delirium to some degree.
Sure.
Death Note for sure. Like the themes and what you guys have done, the combination, like they're all unique. They're all
we hope
really
so,
neat.
for every game that ever sold of Collapse, we donated 3 meals to Feeding America, and that was kind of a fun, like, because it was about meals and preparedness and stuff like that. It was a kind of fun tie-in. But yeah, that was Collapse. It is Collapse. We have a few copies left.
Only did one
one.
print run of that as
Sure.
part of the Kickstarter, and
That's another fascinating thing too. Is you look at this game. There's only so many copies, and if it's popular, maybe it'll get a second print run.
Yeah, not always.
Maybe it'll get a third.
Yeah.
Like that's what, maybe 2,000 copies.
Yeah.
In the
Something
entire
like
world?
that. Yeah, not a ton.
That's
So you should buy them while they so this is Death Note, and it's got let's see. So like these are the books. We thought it would be fun that if you're familiar with the IP and the series, that it all takes place in a Death Note book, and so you play the whole game out. It's basically a roll and write, but it's like a asymmetrical deduction roll and write where you the detective has completely different powers, different game end, different rules for play than Kira does. So you're playing your own independent games essentially, but asymmetric roll and write.
That's a cool
Deduction.
A cool idea of how to use deduction, hidden actions and movements.
Sure, yeah.
Roll and write. That's really neat.
Yeah. So
there's a really fun head-to-head portion of the game where you each have a token that's got A on one side and B on the other. And Detective L is trying to decide which location he thinks Kira is going to, location A or location B. And so it's a very heady,
because there's a clear winner. A is better than B, or B is better than A.
There's location A where he can get 3 points, or location B where he can get 1 point. Okay, but is he going to go for the more points, or does he know that I'm going to think that he's going for the more points, so he's going to go for the lesser points?
But is that obvious? So I should just
That's
go for the
too
more.
obvious, but I don't want him to
really
get
wanna
more
play this
points,
game
so I
now.
need to go
We should
there.
totally play it. I love it. It's a ton of fun.
And
to
it
play.
is very different than our other games, but I think one that, I really enjoyed designing this one because it was just so different, and I got to geek out on spreadsheets a little bit.
Yeah, because it went through a lot of.
It went through many iterations, different maps, and different ways that we were going to do the
Well, it's a
the
callback
deduction.
to your dad, and you used to do logic puzzles together, and so a lot of those logic puzzles kind of made their way into here, and that was really fun experience.
Also really like the logic puzzles, the deduction.
Yeah.
I just are you here? Are you messing with me? I really enjoyed that.
That's a fun one. I really like that.
That's
That's Death Note. And the nice thing about, because you when you do an IP, especially a show with as long a run as Death Note is, which didn't go on forever, but it went on for long enough.
Yeah, it did.
You could try to play out the whole series. We played out one episode and tried to
Really focused on one.
Yeah, episode 2 is what the whole game is based on.
Oh.
And so the nice thing there is if we ever want to come back, we could do episode 3, episode 4, episode, season 2, episode 1, whatever it is. But we also tried to make it, because if you try to play out a whole franchise in a single game,
There were a lot of elements we ended up having to take out because we
Yeah.
were considering so much of the series at first.
Really?
So we kind of honed in on what point in time makes the most sense
Can
for the
you
experience
mention any?
of things that we left out.
movement.
Well, the original game, did. Once we kind of dove into development, we had a whole map where there were sort of, I guess they were hexagon.
Yeah, there were nodes in different areas
And Kira was physically moving his location around the map, and Detective L was trying to kind of chase his path and try to catch him. And so we had to kind of, wanting to stick back to the original plan of having 2 notebooks, we ended up doing away with the board altogether and didn't do movement. But there were other reasons for that too, but
yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that got trashed.
yeah, there also used to be, even within the books, regions that were different sort of terrain. So it was like a map that was a lot more of like a geographical, like, oh, he's over in this part of the city or the park area or the river. It was more
pull some things out.
Like a traditional map would feel like.
Yeah.
But when it came down to it, we really needed. So for me, when I was coming up with the probabilities and making sure that no matter which suspect Kira was, because as Kira, you secretly draw, okay, I'm suspect C, so this is my location, or I'm suspect Q. We needed it to be equally difficult to find him, no matter which suspect he was.
Which is actually hard.
Which is so much harder than you would think, because we had so many really cool complex maps, but you couldn't really like put Akira up here in the corner and also have one right in the middle and have it be equally hard to find him because of the nature of how we were having him give clues about his location. So yeah, we had, dozens of different Excel spreadsheets.
Oh
my brother even helped design.
He actually
one.
wrote some software that helped us do this because it was so hard to solve.
Really?
It would give you a score of how, basically like how many times you could hit that location to see are all the suspects in even weight.
I really want to play this game now.
It's crazy
it
how
became
much goes into
like
that.
it's only simple because it was
and this
complex.
game was
at
your
first.
shortest game because you pitched it and then they needed
No, we pitched the idea before we knew how any of this would work.
Oh yeah, we didn't have a game.
We wrote a big check with our mouths that we had to figure out, and so but
they
this
had
sounds like one of the
deadlines
coolest, biggest accomplishments to be like, here it is, and wow, look what we accomplished.
Well, it certainly had some downsides. Like we got it where we thought it was done, and there was a whole like complex scoring. So there's this. We're getting a little bit deep in the weeds probably, but that's okay. There's this translucent thing that you use to track location, like where you are, and it's an investigative tool. So like it helps you rule out who you can't be, and so that at one point had like 3 different values on it, like concentric rings, and we took it. We thought the game was done. We did a big playtest session at family time, and everyone to a person was like too hard, and so we had to pump the brakes and kind of come back and simplify, and so. But over a year's a long time. You can solve a lot of problems in a year.
Yeah.
You're right.
And so,
that's true.
Yeah, that's what it became. So that's Death Note. You should all buy it in triplicate. It's around still. But we should play that then. That's a really good one.
Yeah, please.
So this is Gates of Delirium. So it is more Lovecraftian than not, although it never specifically calls that out anywhere.
Right. And
we wanted a game that so it does feel like a lot of the Lovecraftian games are kind of somewhat hard to approach if you don't understand the mythos. Like, where do you start?
Right.
This is where you can start. It assumes no knowledge, requires no knowledge. It is at its heart set collection, area control, kind of like it's been called somewhat Euro-y. I don't know. You make your own decisions on that, but it's it's a game where you are sending out investigators, and kind of solving mysteries. But more than that, you are slowly going insane. So some of your turns are sane, some of your turns are insane. You kind of have different goals, whether you're sane or insane, and you're kind of playing both sides of the coin. And
you changed. So one of the things you brought in from Lotus is the way to make portals, but unlike Lotus, where we're all vying control over that flower, you guys are now
you're building your own
in front of you. And it could be multiple colors. It could be green, orange, white, purple, blue. But now there's also this race mechanic that you're adding into it. Oh, I see that you're close to finishing orange. I either need to keep those cards from you and build mine before you get yours, or what I also think is neat is I see you're about to finish that portal, and this area majority of your followers in this area, and if I can be the highest in that area, then sure, you get those points, I'll get these.
Yeah, it was kind of you're not always going to win, like in Lotus, you're not always going to win every flower, right? Or you're not going to be the first to open every gate, but we wanted you to be able to place a bet, basically, on, I think he's going to finish purple before she finishes green. And so you start moving your people into that area of the map. And it's essentially like a bet or hedging against, other things. So it allows you to be participatory, even if you can't finish. You still have, in some cases, as much to win or lose by just having majority as the person who opens the gate. So,
is that hard for you guys to figure out of like there's this two separate piece, but they're very joined kind of at the hip of like if one goes, this other thing is gonna go. How did you guys figure how that works into this game?
Yeah, it was super hard.
I'm trying to even remember. There were so many iterations that got us to this because of that challenge. We knew, I think, early on that we wanted to try where you were able to complete these independently instead of the shared sort of where you're fighting for placing that last piece.
Was there a reason behind that?
I think it started for the reason of wanting variety. So we wanted to have a different feel altogether. We didn't want this to feel too much like Lotus.
Sure, okay.
So we thought one of the biggest things about Lotus is that you're kind of fighting to be the one to place the last card. Well, what if you're not fighting for that, but instead you're really focusing on that sort of, trying to guess which region is going to be that next one to complete. And that felt a lot more thematic in this case because we were talking about opening portals to another world. And so, thinking about kind of that theme of investigators. Oh, hello.
Who's going to join us for this portion of the interview? This is Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
Charlie.
I know you. We've met.
Here, you can hang out here for a minute. He was starting to get a little fussy.
But one of the biggest differences about this game that I think is really interesting is the way that the action cards are created here with the sane and insane.
There's very few games that I know
sides.
of that do that, and that you have to flip them over, I think was also very thematic, and where you might have you choose this action or this action on a card, like Watergate does it. You have to choose one of those two actions. But to actually flip your cards, it's just thematically fun because you're turning everything upside down.
Yeah, and it definitely makes you kind of visualize and feel the pain of losing that other side of the card.
Yeah.
So if I play this on an insane action, I'm going to play the dark side of the card, but that means I lose the chance at playing that bottom side on a later sane turn. And so I think the flipping kind of makes you realize that even more.
Now, was that your idea as well, of that they have to be the complete opposite visually?
It started as we're two people and we designed 4-player games. So when we're playtesting, the vast majority of the time we're faking 4-player games when we need to test at that player count, because it's easier to fake it than it is to go find 2 more people at 1 a.m. when you're working on an idea. So the way we do that is I'll have 2 hands in front of me. I'll have my player 1 hand and my player 2 hand. And she'll have her player 3 hand and player 4 hand. And so what we'll try to do is play this hand without the knowledge of what's in here. Even though I know what's in there, I'll act on the knowledge I have here.
Sure.
And then I'll put it away and I'll do this one. So we thought, wouldn't it be, because that's an enjoyable thing to do. It's kind of fun to test yourself in that way. So we wanted to create a game where you had 2 decks. And you had to pick up and remember, that's the deck that's going to have the thing I want to do here. So I'm going to play, oh no, it was over here. But I can't do that, I can't switch because I've already committed. And so we liked that idea, and it became sane deck and insane deck. And you could work on your sane deck, right? But then you were doing it at the loss of your insane deck. And so that was that started to become the game. And then that was too complex, so Mandy had the idea to put them on the same card, so they just became sane half and insane half, and that actually unlocked a much better experience. And so,
and there's still that idea of being able to flip them, like you kind of see it, but you only see so much.
Sure, or you may forget, or so that's how that started.
Well, I think this comes back to sort of the challenge of completing a project, because we had those ideas floating around with 4 or 5 other really good ideas that just were not coming together into a playable game. And it came down to it where we were a day or 2 out from attending an event in Cincinnati, the Unpub. It was an Unpub mini sort of event where game designers could bring in a prototype, and there were groups of people willing to sit down and play and give you feedback. and in the end, vote on the games that they liked and felt were memorable. And we just had a pile of ideas and like things like this where we had an insane deck and a sane deck, and it was not coming together into a playable game. And I think we probably kind of started panicking.
We signed up well before we had anything. We were like, maybe
months ahead.
This will be the catalyst to.
We were going no matter what. We were going no matter what.
So you were using this literally to kickstart your own, like, gumption.
I do that all the time.
Do you?
All the time. Like, if
I need something to really push me.
He signs us up for things before we know.
All the time. Like, we have a side project we're working on right now, by where we set a meeting with a client before we had anything to show. It's just like, yeah, that'll make us do it. And it works. Like, you walk into the meeting with prepared because you had to, because you set that as a goal.
Sometimes we need a deadline.
You can get stuck.
Yeah.
And if you make yourself commit to something before you're ready, sometimes it unsticks you.
This was the prime example of that, because it went from what he was describing as the 2 decks to this at a very, very late night stage, probably 2 nights
in the hotel.
Before.
2 nights. We were packed. We were packing.
It was here that I think I kind of pulled most of it together, and then we were in the hotel lobby playing it through for the first time ourselves.
Wow. Before heading over. Like
before going the very next morning.
We kind of connected all the rules together, and we were like, well, we gotta leave. We have to walk out the door now. We'll play it when we get there. We played it in the lobby, and it was awesome.
It was honestly probably 90% of what you see here. Yeah. It didn't change that much after that point.
It went from being complete.
Months of lots of different ideas, lots of trying to throw the theme, at some of the different things we were playing around with these mechanics, and then it all sort of just came together. It was really, really.
It went from being unplayable, terrible, a source of frustration, to winning a Player's Choice Award the next day.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So some of it's luck, but again, it's kind of like you've got to just. For us, I think a deadline helped because we just needed to force something. And it worked.
Why square cards over regular size cards?
Part of it was honestly just table space. We were trying to keep things a little bit smaller. Our prototype had it as half cards, and so it was just tiny little gates that you were building. But part of it was just really wanting it to feel like a full gate. What he's showing here with the flower, there's a lot of empty space between petals, which naturally makes sense for a flower and looks very natural and beautiful. For a gate, we wanted it as close to a full circle as possible, and we didn't want to have to change game design, which was the 5, 6, and 7 card size.
Which also
gates.
I think is cool that you still were able to implement into a different size dimension card of 5 cards, 6 cards, or 7 cards.
So basically what you'll see here is like there's just a ton of wasted space if it's not a square. So like all of this is just wasted because the circle is going to complete itself quite low on the card where they meet. And so if you do anything taller than a square, you usually have a lot of wasted space. And so for table space and for just kind of aesthetic, we went with a smaller square card.
Yeah, because it was a circle. Yeah.
What's been, you feel, your greatest accomplishment so far, and what has been your biggest hurdle so far?
No pressure.
I mean, I guess it depends how you measure those, because I think Lotus is, our greatest accomplishment based on the numbers.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
More people know Lotus, recognize Lotus, and just based on the number of countries it's in, the number of copies that have been sold, it's far and away our winner, the best game we've developed from that standpoint.
You guys are very proud of this game, though.
I would say the best game, for gameplay purposes, my favorite game is Gates of Delirium.
And surprisingly, for all the stuff that's in this game still 4 players plays like 35, 40 minutes. It's crazy. You guys knocked it out of the park.
That's a question we ask at every playtest, which is, for the amount of fun you had, did you spend too long to have that much fun? Did it overstay its welcome, right? And then the other question is, for the amount of fun you had, what would be like the price point you'd pay for it? Because that also determines component size and stuff. But I would say 35, 40 minutes in Gates of Delirium, you have a ton of choices, experience, interplay, fun, new mechanics, and you're in and out in 40 minutes.
Yes.
And it's a meatier game. Like all the stuff we were tempted to take out of Lotus to simplify, we let ourselves keep a lot of that in Gates of Delirium. Reduced it, made it simpler to approach. Like you want it to be like have some depth, but also be easy to approach. But a lot of that's kind of still in there, so that you get the more complexity you may want. And so it's, I don't know.
Well, we kind of joked about pulling it together right before that event, but we were, I mean, probably on the brink of quitting doing any of this.
Really?
Because we just thought, we have all these ideas, they're not coming together. Maybe we don't have a good enough, unique idea to even bring something to the table. Maybe we shouldn't go to this thing at all.
Oh my gosh.
You know, or call the guys running it and just tell them we just don't have it. Sorry.
This game was that close to just being.
I mean, it was within an hour of that.
Shelved.
Yeah, it was an hour away from that.
I think you even kind of walked away for a bit, saying like, I don't have any other ideas right now. And I spent some independent time with it, and then brought you back in. But
and I was like, oh yeah, that's really good. I totally helped with that. She saved
the
this game
original
for sure.
ideas were yours. But I mean, it really can be challenging to find the right balances between making it fit the theme, making it the right length, the right complexity. All of those things have to come together, and there are so many points in the process where it's easy to just give up and just say, I don't have it, I can't figure it out.
But you're usually like right around the corner from
Yeah.
if you could just stick it out, you're right around the corner.
Sounds like your biggest hurdle can become the biggest accomplishment.
I think that's true with anything though.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Sure,
Yeah.
Jordan.
Well, I think you've unlocked a good point there, which is like if you you're in charge of your own story. It was either going to be the biggest hurdle that you didn't overcome, or it was going to be the greatest thing you accomplished. And it's like, did you stick through it or not? You know.
And I guess we won't know about how well it does because it's only been out a week.
Yeah.
But we'll let you know in a couple.
But
weeks.
we're in that process right now with a different game. Like that has not been announced or talked about, but it's probably my favorite thing I've ever worked on. And it's like,
Can you say why, in some very general way, why it could be your favorite?
because it's the most fun I've ever had playing something I've built, and so or that we've built. Excuse me. And so
I believe he's talking about a dexterity game.
yeah, it's my
that
favorite
he's
thing
working
we've
on.
ever worked on.
It's very different, right? I mean, a dexterity game, it's wild and rambunctious and gets people
It's
looking at the
pretty different.
table, and it's fun in a different way.
But we're at that point where it's like it is up against some really genuine hurdles.
We could easily walk away.
Easily
Just go,
walk
"It's
away.
not
No
gonna
one will
be
ever,
anything."
no one will
I
ever
hope you don't.
fault us for it. Probably because they'll never know it existed. But if it comes
We'll see.
out, it'll be a lot of fun. So you know, it's always that.
Well, Jordan, Mandy, Charlie, for 2 years you guys have been supportive and have been very loving and caring. So, man, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank
we're
you
so glad
much.
you're doing it. It's a lot of fun. It's a great concept.
Happy to do it anytime. So
Yeah. Same time next week.
let's do it
Sure.
again.
You up for that, buddy?
Charlie will play this time.
Yeah, he's up for it. So yeah, you're in.
Well, everybody, thank you for stopping by and keep limelighting.
Thanks a lot.
Very good.